All right, so welcome back to another Smart Kitchen and Bar episode. We are here with Chef Lindsay Autry. This is a good name. I like this name.
Thank you.
So Chef Autry is coming out of Regional Kitchen and the Public House out of West Palm Beach, Florida. So thanks for stepping into the studio this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We always love to hear kind of the backstory of chefs and how they got in the business. What was it that was that trigger point for them that got them in love with cuisine? What was yours?
Well, I'm originally from North Carolina, and I grew up around food. My family had a peach orchard in eastern North Carolina.
Okay.
And it was kind of a hobby for my grandfather when he retired, and then got kind of out of control and became a big business. And I started cooking competitions through 4-H when I was 9 years old. And I just fell in love with cooking, and it's all I've ever done. You
were literally at the genesis of farm to table when farm to table was cool,
right,
before people started using that term.
Exactly. Well, and for us, that was the way it was. I mean, that was life for us. You got up and you learned how to raise this pig so that you learned the appreciation of it, and then you said goodbye to it and moved on.
For those who have not ever been to the Regional, kind of walk us through what the restaurant is about, the cuisine style.
Yeah, so the Regional, it's in downtown West Palm Beach. We opened in September of 2016. We're a large restaurant. We are about 10,000 square feet, and the space is divided into kind of 3 different areas. We have our public house, which is part of the name, which is our bar. Just a really great kind of dwelling space. There's a lot of living room furniture. It's a little bit different.
Right.
And then our main dining room has a display pantry kitchen. So the idea is that you really feel that you're in the kitchen with me and my staff, and you can see everything. And then we have a large private dining space too. And so we called the Regional because we're really embedded in our community. We support local businesses, not only with farms and purveyors, but also the woodworkers that built our booths all of the lighting and all of that. And we source regionally. I like to say it's an American kitchen, but it definitely is a focus on Southern and Mediterranean cuisine.
Okay, so today we're talking about fall menus, and I like some of the things obviously that you've lined up here. Let's kind of walk through some of the uniquenesses of how these flavors and spices blend in with what you're trying to do from a dish standpoint.
Yeah, so I think with fall, a lot of times I think chefs feel with seasonal cooking, sometimes we feel like we're in a box, like we've got to conform to what we see in a magazine or what people think that you're supposed to eat in fall, where you can really still do what you love to do, get those seasonal ingredients, but also focus on depth of flavor. This is pickled shrimp, and it's a little misleading because it's not really pickled, but in kind of the coastal South, especially areas of the Low Country, this is a pretty popular dish. And we've kind of taken the classic way, and we've added a little bit more of that Mediterranean touch. And so what we have here is we have some Key West pink shrimp that we've just par-cooked, peeled, and deveined them. So we're starting with some sweet onions. Now I'm using Vidalia onions right now, and we've shaved it really thin. And you're gonna put more onions than you think, because this is gonna marinate and these onions are gonna melt in, and it's part of the dish later. So we start with the onions, and then from here, we have a little bit, we're just gonna add just good old kosher salt. We've got some celery seed. We've got some Old Bay. At the restaurant, we make our own. And a little bit of crushed red pepper. For heat. And then we have got some fresh parsley, some fresh dill, a little bit of chopped garlic. Now in South Florida, it's hot year round. So it's a little hard for me to think about butternut squash soup. So we use more depth and spices to celebrate fall.
Which I like that. That's a good approach.
So now that we've added all of our spices, our onions, our herbs, garlic, and then last we're gonna add some fresh lemon zest, which I've done with a microplane. We're gonna do the zest and juice of about 3 lemons. And so I'm just gonna add that in. And so we're gonna add about a half a cup of olive oil, and it might seem like a lot, but we're gonna marinate a full pound of shrimp. So to this now, I'm going to just add in our poached shrimp. So now we're actually gonna add some fresh bay leaves, and that lends a lot of flavor. So we're gonna add a few of these. And we're just gonna mix this up really great. And then now we're gonna pack it into a mason jar. And what's great about this, I mean, especially fall in South Florida, you can still go to the beach.
Yep.
And this is a great kind of picnic thing. You can pack this up or take it to someone's house, you know, as like a potluck. If you need to take something over, it's something you can do a couple of days ahead.
Looks amazing. And when you are preparing this, how long before this is ready to go in a dish?
I mean, within overnight, 24 hours is kind of the minimum. You're gonna get some good flavor. At the restaurant though, we wait a full 3 days before we serve it.
Okay.
And then you wanna serve it by, you know, day 5 or 6.
Okay.
It'll last about that long.
I don't think I can wait that long to do that.
Well, I made some a few days ago for you to try today.
Okay.
So we'll get a little ahead of that.
Good.
And so we just serve it right in the jar. And then we've got some really pretty little pieces of butter lettuce.
Right.
And at the restaurant, what's great is that you can make like a little lettuce wrap. Put the shrimp inside.
Good. Yeah.
And then we serve it with some fresh avocado and a little bit of heirloom tomatoes and some shaved radish.
When you look at the menus and the popularity from a guest standpoint, when they see Southern with a Mediterranean spin, what kind of questions do you get from the patrons there?
We try and make it, especially in our menu descriptions, that it's very approachable. But sometimes people will notice a certain flavor and say, oh, that's unique, you know?
Right.
But usually, like I said, you know, if you can tell a story, and that's what it is that, oh, well, a lot of times our staff will say, well, our chef grew up, her grandmother is Greek, and she grew up with a mix of Southern and Mediterranean influence. And then when you kind of say that, people end up trusting you a little bit. So that's how we serve it at the restaurant. And if you want to give it a shot, I've got
let's do that. This
fork
looks amazing.
For you. Yeah.
So would this be a main dish or a appetizer? How would you guys
This is
set
an appetizer on the menu at the restaurant, and then we also do it as hors d'oeuvres for private events.
Oh, okay, great.
And you go a little heavy on the spice, so you get a good amount of the marinade in there.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it's a little like ceviche.
You really get all those flavors too. I like the spice selection that you did. I'm getting the red pepper, and garlic is a little bit more powerful in this. This is perfect. All right, so Chef, here we go on your next dish, which is the one I'm really interested in seeing, and that's the
fried chicken.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bowls.
A lot of interesting. You have a lot of different flours here too.
We
Talk
do.
to me about that.
Yeah, so one of the things I love is the different types of flours is what creates that really great, almost KFC type texture where you get the dredging, and that comes from a few different things. It comes from a use of a combination of flours. So we use an all-purpose flour, but we use a high-quality one.
Okay.
And we mix that with Wondra, which you'll hear a lot in Southern cuisine, which is a super fine, refined flour. And then we actually use cornstarch as well. And the way we do it at the restaurant now is we do a sweet tea brine.
Okay.
And so what we do is earlier I toasted some garlic, I added some lemon peel, some fresh rosemary, and toasted all of that in olive oil.
I like it.
And then to that, I just added some water and some salt, sugar. We let that simmer, and then we added in some black tea. The brine is gonna go for 12 hours, up to 24. It's really up to you. But you really wanna try and go at least overnight to get a lot of flavor.
Now, why the black tea? Because that's a unique element.
Yeah, well, that's just kind of the Southern touch of us using a little bit of sweet tea in our brine as opposed to just water. But what I love about the tea is that it's got natural tannin in it, right?
Okay.
And a little bit of that helps penetrate into the chicken, and you'll be able to taste the tannin from the tea, which I think is unique. And we've put rosemary in there, which I think is a great fall flavor.
Yep.
Another hearty herb that's not something like pumpkin or nuts, you know?
Sure.
So for our breading process, our first step is going to be just plain all-purpose flour. The next step is going to be whole eggs. So we're going to do 2 whole eggs.
Okay.
And to that, we're going to add 2 cups of buttermilk, and I've got some whole fat buttermilk. If you're making fried chicken, you really want to
gotta go all the way.
All the way. And the egg really helps to thicken up that buttermilk and make sure it really stays on there.
Good.
And then we've got 3 types of flour. So we use equal parts. So we've got a really nice all-purpose flour. We're gonna add 1 drop.
Super fine.
Super fine, and then we're gonna add cornstarch.
Okay.
And the cornstarch really helps to get it really crispy without actually burning, you know?
Yeah.
And so the color stays nice and golden.
Right.
I love hot sauce. I think it was my time I spent in Mexico. I love spicy food. So we make a few different styles of hot sauce at the restaurant, and we serve that with our fried chicken as well.
Great.
So now we've got all 3. So we're gonna start by dredging our chicken first in the all-purpose flour. And you wanna make sure that you get it good and covered. And then from here, we're gonna shake off the excess. And we're gonna go right into our buttermilk.
Yep.
Now at this point, you wanna try and let it sit in there at least for like 30 seconds. You just don't wanna go too fast. If you noticed, as I was pulling my chicken in, I let some of that buttermilk drip into the flour, right? Because that's what creates that crumb that we're looking for.
Right.
And then we fry at 300 for about 3 to 4 minutes, and then we do what we call a par fry, which means once it gets crispy, we take it out, we let it cool for a couple of minutes, and then we go back in to crisp it back up.
So Chef, why use the thighs? What are some of the attributes of that you like?
With this brine, with the dark meat, I think it pairs well, and you know, it gives it a really great flavor as opposed to just a breast.
Right.
So now I think that we're done.
Okay.
So we're gonna start to pull these off.
Great golden brown too, and I love the dredge that you've got. This is perfect.
Yeah, at the restaurant we serve it with a seasonal coleslaw, some homemade pickles.
We'll go and dive into this guy right here. Just a little bit of the sauce. You can really, you do. Oh, that's perfect. Okay.
You have to just eat it with your hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
But you pick up on the flavor from the brine. The hot sauce too adds a lot of depth, which is great. You
wow,
know,
that tea really pops that.
It does.
I like that.
Well, and the rosemary too being hearty, you know, you pick up a little bit of that, and the brightness of the lemon. And what's great about that brine is that then you don't, and especially which is great in a restaurant setting, is that I've already seasoned the chicken. I don't have to worry about the cooks going back through the process of trying to season it before it gets fried. It's already been done in the brine, and then we just season it when it comes out.
I love the fact that you've got all these great homemade from scratch ingredients. Great, and I love the combinations. Everything is perfect with the way that it kind of complements the chicken, which is amazing. That's a really great crunch too. I love it. Well, thanks again for stepping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Love the 2 dishes there. Definitely for fall menus as you guys are continuing to build your menus and look at ideas. Of course, something like this is a no-brainer for really kind of implementing some of these really unique flavors. You can catch us here back at the Smart Kitchen with more episodes. And make sure and go check Chef Lindsay Autry's The Regional in West Palm Beach. You will not be disappointed. An amazing spot, obviously, by what we've seen here today.
Oh, thank you.